you to be alright.
Baby, I want you back right now. Baby, I want you back right now. Yeah, the way you love, can you teach me how? Yeah, the way you love, can you teach me how? You might, but you could.
naman! Visit ka! Anong batuin kita dyan?
So what's up you guys? It's your girl, Kia Coderias. So, andito na naman kayo sa aking vlog-vlogan for educational purposes lamang.
Educational purposes lamang. Tama kayo. Bakit?
Bakit? Ano ba yan? So what's up you guys? It's your girl, Kia Coderias. So, andito kayo ngayon sa aking vlog-vlogan for educational purposes lamang. Oo, tama kayong narinig. Itong vlog ko na to is for educational purposes lamang. So, andito ako ngayon and ako ay magdi-discuss about sa Asian history.
As about sa Asian history.
Ang pangit! Last na! So what's up you guys? It's your girl, Kia Coderias. So, andito kayo ngayon sa aking vlog-vlogan for educational purposes lamang. Oo, tama kayo na narinig. Itong vlog na to is just for educational purposes lamang. So, andito ako ngayon para i-discuss sa inyo ang the rise of nationalism movements in the Southwest Asia. So,
何お前はもう死んでいる
dahil quarantine ngayon, ibagala ko ngayon sa bansang Southwest Asia. So, let's get started. Arat lang tuklasin ang tatlong iba't ibang nasyonalismo sa Southwest Asia. Una, ang Turkish nationalism. Second, Iranian nationalism. At last, Saudi Arabian nationalism. Arat na!
Rise of nationalism movements in Southwest Asia. So, pag sinabi nating nasyonalismo, ito ay may damdaming makabayan na kung saan pinapakita natin yung pagmamahal natin, pagpapahalaga sa sarili nating bansa. So, paano nga ba natin masasabi na yung isang bansa is merong nasyonalismo? Una, tinatangkilik niya yung produkto, hindi lang yung produkto, mismong ideya, pati yung kultura na meron sa kanila. Pangalawa, kaya nilang ipagtanggol or kaya nilang mamatay, magbuwis ng buhay para sa bansa nila para may pagtanggol ito sa mga nananakop sa atin. Ottoman Empire. Nagtagal yung Ottoman Empire 600 years ago. Naging usap-usapan siya dahil siguro sa mga nagawa at sa mga nangyari na naging parte ng history natin ngayon na dapat nating alamin. Then, dahil na din siguro nagtagal yung Ottoman Empire na to, dahil siguro meron silang kakaibang nationalistic politics na kung saan may iba't ibang nationalismo na nanakop or naging leader sa panahong ito. Rise of Ottoman Empire. So, ang founder dito, si Osman Gazi, na tinatawag din siyang Seljuk Turk. So, itong si Osman, niroll niya yung tiny Anatolian territory noong 13th and 14th century. So, sobrang napakalakas nito and napakapangyarihan na tao. Isa siya sa mga great warrior noong Middle Ages, noong panahon pa ni Genghis Khan, kung naalala nyo, bago niya may panalo or mapasakan niya yung Ottoman Empire. So, itong mga Ottoman na to ay originally nagmula sa eastern region ng Mediterranean, which sila yung nagkocontrol dati sa Roman Empire. Yung Roman Empire, meron siyang dalawang part. Una, yung western, then yung eastern Roman Empire. Yung sa western empire, nasira na siya dati. Then, ito na lang yung natira, yung eastern Roman Empire, na tinatawag nilang Byzantine Empire, na kung saan itong Byzantine Empire is Christian religion talaga, Catholic sila. Then, nagkaroon sila ng struggle kasi sinakop sila ng Islam noong 8th and 13th century. In 16th and 7th century, the Ottoman Empire spanned 3 continents, the Western Asia, the Southwest Asia, and may part sa Europe. Hindi lang si Osman yung naging leader dito sa Ottoman Empire, madami sila. Kaya nung namatay si Osman, ang pumalit sa kanya nung 1453 si Mehmed II the Conqueror. So siya yung naging leader, siya yung nagsizing ng ancient city of Constantinople and the Byzantine Emperor capital. Then pinalitan niya yung Istanbul ng city mismo ng Ottoman Empire. Nung namatay na si Mehmed II the Conqueror, ang pumalit sa kanya noong 1517 si Bayezid son of Salim. So itong mga nasakop niyang bansa, Syria, Arabia, Palestine, and Egypt. During 1520 to 1566, the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent, this period was marked by great power and stability and wealth. Kasi nga, di ba, ang dami nilang nasakop na bansa. Then, dito din umusbong yung Ottoman arts and science. Dito umusbong yung mga different literatures, mga arts, mga crafts, and other architecture. Under the Sultan Salim, so may tinatawag silang patricide, wherein ito yung bagong policy na in-emerge ni Sultan Selim, na ibig sabihin, kailangan nilang patayin yung mga kapatid nila para makuha nila yung trono. 36 Sultan ruled the Ottoman Empire between 1299 to 1222. Sabi ko nga kanina, madaming leaders dito sa Ottoman Empire. Hindi lang si Osman. So, tinatawag sa kanila is Topkapi. Millet system, a community structure that gave minority groups a limited amount of power to control their own affairs. Ito yung mga taong namumuno or may katungkulan dito sa empire na to. Binibigyan sila ng power para kontrolin kung ano ba yung mga gusto nilang gawin sa buhay nila. In 14th century, Devshirme was created. This required conquered Christians to give up 20% of their male children to the state. The children were first to convert to Islam and become slaves. In this system of Devshirme, so pag meron kang anak na lalaki na Christian, so kailangan required talaga sa kanila na ipa-convert mo into Islam and gagawin nilang slaves. So, anong purpose nito? Dahil nga, hindi lang Christian religion ang meron dito sa Ottoman Empire, meron ding Islam religion. Kung kaya't, ganun yung ginawa ng mga Islam na people para mas lumawak pa yung Islam religion nila. In 1600s, the Ottoman Empire began to lose its economic and military dominance to Europe. Dahil nga sabi ko kanina, isa sa mga nasakop nilang bansa isang sa Europe. So, bakit nga ba? We all know naman yung Europe, isa siya sa mga powerful na bansa. Dito na rin nag-umpisa na magkaroon ng iba't ibang empire ang Europe, and their both economic and military advances and have powerful allies kung kaya't nawala sila sa tali ng mga Ottoman. Then in 1683, the Ottoman Turks were defeated at the Battle of Vienna. This Battle of Vienna, it is a war from a fight between Islam and the Christendom religion. Nangyari kasi dito, itong mga Vienna na to is yung sakop nila is yung the Black Sea of the Western Europe. Itong Black Sea na to is ruta or daungan talaga para makapunta ka sa Eastern Mediterranean, para mapunta ka sa Germany. Then, naging interesado dito yung mga Ottoman kasi pag nasakop nila yung Black Sea, may chance na ulit silang sakupin yung mga ilang lugar na malapit dito sa Black Sea na to. And, sa di nila inaasahan, out of nowhere na lang, biglang natalo tong mga Ottoman Empire, which is not expected kasi alam naman natin pag Ottoman malalakas kasi madami na silang na ipanalong battle. So this battle was won by Vienna because of their combination tactic of Commonwealth and Roman Empire. In 1878, the Congress of Berlin declared the independence of Romania, Serbia, and Bulgaria. So, itong 1878 Congress of Berlin, itong meeting na kung saan meeting ng mga representative ng bawat era. Meron ditong 6 great power ng Europe, yung Russia, Great Britain, France, Austria, Hungary, Italy, and Germany. And also the Ottoman Empire, yung 4 na 4 Balkan state na kung saan kasama dun yung Greece, Serbia, Romania, and the Montenegro. Ang nangyari kasi dito, ito yung meeting na para isettle yung peace between the Ottoman Empire ng Turkey and the Empire of the Russia. This Treaty of Berlin promised sa Ottoman Empire na they ended the Holy Alliance sa Austria and Russia. Then itong the great power become increasingly convinced na itong mga Ottoman Empire na di napapakailaman ang mga nasakop nito na under ng territories ng Europe. Kaya nagkaroon ng independence. Then last, Ottoman Empire was already declined start of the World War I. And the Ottoman Empire officially ended in 1922. That's why they ended Ottoman Empire to conquer other state dahil na rin siguro konti na lang yung alliance nila and hindi na ganon kalakas yung political structures para lumaban pa sa ibang state. That's why they decided to end it. Tapos ang lupit nito kasi alam nila kung kailan sila bibitaw. Haha, sana all. Yung iba kasi kahit walang-wala na, laban pa din. Pero okay na din yung ginawa nitong Ottoman Empire kasi alam nila kung ano yung mas makaka-benefit or alam nila kung paano nila pahalagahan yung tao nila dito sa empire nila. So, itong si Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, siya yung founder ng Independence Republic of the Turkey. And siya din yung unang first president ng Turkey and nakilala siya bilang Father of Turks. Dahil leader na itong si Mustafa Kemal, so may goal siya para maging modern nation na yung Turkey after the Ottoman Empire na sakupin nito. So una, he separated the Islam law from the law of the nation. Yung Islam kasi na tinutukoy dyan is yung tinatawag nilang Dev Sharmi, yung natakil ko kanina, kung saan lahat ng mga Christians na lalaki, ginagawa nilang Islam, kino-convert nila ito para maging Islam. And also, dahil talamak na dito yung Islam religion dito sa bansa na to, so, sineparate talaga ni Kemal yung Islam to the Christian religion. Then, yung law naman of the nation na tinutukoy dyan is about ruling the state by the leader without any hindrance or make tutol for them. Next, abolish religion courts and create new legal system. Sabi ko na din kanina, may usapan yung Europe and the Ottoman Empire before they ended the Holy Alliance to the Europe. Then, binigyan nila ng karapatan yung mga kababaihan na bumoto. Inalis nila yung stereotyping between the men and the woman. Kasi this era kasi, or this sa Turkey, mas binigyan na nila ng priority yung mga babae kasi 'di ba sila patriarchal system, 'di ba, lalaki lang dapat yung pwedeng mamuno sila, but this time binigyan ng karapatan ni Kemal yung mga babae na bumoto and magtrabaho sa mga public office and other governments. Then last, they launch government funding programs for their industrial and para mas lalo pang mag-boom yung economic ng Turkey. So, sa mga ginawang actions ni Kemal, masasabi talaga nating deserving siya na tawagin na the Father of Turks kasi he provide the needs and the Turkey become one of the best country in the world. Na kahit sinakop sila ng Ottoman dati, for lasted 600 years, kaya pa din nilang maging matatag and sumabay sa growth and modernization ng isang country. So, natapos na nga nating i-discuss si Turkey. So, ang next ko namang i-discuss sa inyo is yung sa Iranian nationalism. So, before ako mag-start, may brief discussion lang ako about kay Iran. So, si Iran, dati, tawag siyang Persia, and isa ito sa mga Islamic Republic ng Southwest Asia. Nationalism and revolution. So, in Iranian nationalism, it refers to the nationalism among the people of the Iranian. So, ang tawag sa mga tao sa Iran is Iranian. So, Iranian nationalism consists of political and social movements and love for Iranian cultures, Iranian language, and also in their history, and last, a sense of pride in Iran for being an Iranian people. Next, Iran was shaken by conflict between universalism and nationalism that was most clearly manifested in religious and cultural sphere. So before, Iran was shaken by the conflict between the universalism and the nationalism about kung ano ba talaga yung ibig sabihin sa kanila ng religious and sa culture nila. Kasi ang Iran kilala for being Arab religion nga, which is yung Islam na religion nila. And their culture was being part of them. Nagkaroon ng conflict sa kanila. Yung religion kasi nila, meron dalawang religion dati. Una, yung Manichaean or Manichaeism, wherein isa ito sa mga major religion nila dati. Na kung saan, ang Manichaean religion teach the dualistic cosmology describing the struggle between the gods, spiritual world, the light and the evil material in this world. So, ang sinasabi dito, yung light and the darkness. So, pag sinabing light, so ito yung good. Then, itong darkness naman, evil. Then, the Zoroastrianism, isa ito sa pinaka-oldest practice religion ng Iran, na kung saan they judge the life after death, heaven and hell, and the free will na pwedeng maka-impluwensya sa religious beliefs ng isang tao. Then, during World War I, both Great Britain and Russia had established spheres of influences in the Asian country of Persia. So, ano nga ba tong mga inimpluwensya ng Great Britain and Russia dito sa Persia? Una, after breakdown of constitutional revolution sa Persia, nagkulab tong si Britain and Russia para suportahan yung Persian autocracy. Then, in 1907, yung nagkaroon ng Anglo-Russian Agreement wherein nag-usap-usap tong tatlong to na kung saan magsusuportahan sila para magkaroon ng good alliance sa isa't isa. Then, pagtapos ng outbreak ng World War I, they abandoned all the presence of respect for Persia sovereignty. They occupying the countries under the pretext of countering German and Ottoman anti-Allied operation in Persia. So, tong dalawang bansa na to, yung Great Britain and Russia, is pinlastic lang tong si Persia para magkaroon sila ng connection dito sa Persia para malaman nila kung ano ba yung mga kahinaan ng Persia para mabilis nilang masakop. After the war, when Russia was still reeling from the Bolshevik Revolution, the British tried to take over all the Persia. So, itong Bolshevik Revolution na to, it is a Russian Revolution na kung saan pinamumunuan siya ni Vladimir Lenin and the group of revolutionary na tinatawag nilang Bolsheviks. So, sila ay communist government na kinereate sa country ng Soviet Union. So, sa madaling salita, habang nagkakaroon ng Russian Revolution, itong mga Russian, umaatake na tong si British para makuha niya yung Persia. In 1925, Reza Shah Pahlavi was begun to rule the Persia. Reza Shah founded the Pahlavi dynasty that lasted until 1979 during the Iranian Revolution. Reza Shah introduced many social, economic, and political reforms during his reign. Kung kaya't yung legacy niya remains pa din na controversial hanggang ngayon. So during Pahlavi dynasty, the Iranian nationalism arose. He established public schools, built roads and railroads, and promoted the industrial growth and extended the rights of the woman. So as you can see, nag-focus talaga to si Reza Shah sa education, sa infrastructures, and sa economics nila, and also the rights of every people. Then, what did Shah Pahlavi want for Iran? Dahil nga ang Iran ay isa sa mga producer ng oil, ang gustong mangyari ni Reza Shah is ang Iran ay maging member ng OPEC na ibig sabihin ay Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Sila na yung magsusupply ng oil sa Southeast Asia and the other country. And also, Reza Shah wants to be educate the Iranian, and he want to abolish the feudal state of much of its countryside kasi nga in their time talamak talaga yung pag-aangkin ng mga ari-arian. So gusto ni Reza Shah na itigil na yon. Then Reza Shah put Iran through in the 1920s kung saan kailan siya nag-start na maging leader sa Persia is wala siyang ibang ginawa kundi panatilihin and i-improve yung society nila para when it comes sa economics nila, social and political system man yan, para sa country ng Iran is para mag-evolve ito into a new country na sobrang class. Then, in 1935, he changed the name of Persia into a traditional name of Iran. So, dito na nagkaroon ng democracy yung Iran, kaya Iran na yung tinawag sa country nila. Itong si Reza Shah Pahlavi and itong si Osman ng Turkey is may pagkakapareho daw in terms sa pamamalakad sa bansa nila. Ang goal nila pareho is both for their country na maging modern and kaya nilang makipagsabayan sa iba't ibang bansa. Make Iran great again. So dito na nagtatapos ang Iranian nationalism. So, natapos na nga nating i-discuss kanina si Iranian nationalism. So, ang next naman na i-discuss ko ngayon, si Saudi Arabia nationalism. So, before ako mag-start kay Saudi Arabia nationalism, so magbibigay lang ako ng brief? Ayun. Brief discussion about kay Saudi Arabia nationalism. So, si Saudi Arabia is now Kingdom of Saudi. Saudi have the largest sovereignty state in the Western Asia. Then, second largest country in the Arab world. Yung mga territory ng Saudi is tirahan or doon nagmula yung mga Asian civilizations and doon nagumpisa yung mga different cultures nila. In prehistory, doon natagpuan yung mga earliest traces ng human activity sa Saudi. And oo nga pala, yung religion dito ng Saudi is malamang Islam kasi Islam religious sila. Then itong si Saudi Arabia is totalitarian absolute monarch wherein pag sinabi natin meron sa kanilang namumuno, then effective talaga kasi yung namumuno sa kanila or yung mismong dictator nila is govern along Islamic lines. So, yun lang yung alam kong brief discussion about kay Saudi Arabia. So, let's start the discussion. Saudi Arabia nationalism. Arab nationalism means is a nationalist ideology that asserts the Arabs are a nation and promotes the unity of Arab people. So, meaning this Arab nationalism, it simplifies the pagkakilanlan for being an Arab people. Pag sinabi kasi nating nationalist ideology, these are the culture and the traditions, then kung ano yung meron dito sa Saudi na to, kung kaya nagpro-promote siya ng unity for being Arab. One primary goal of Arab nationalism is the end of Western influence in the Arab. So meaning Meneses. Pag sinabi kasi nating Meneses, it is stand for enemy. Arab nationalist movements are the three main ideas: the Arab nation, the Arab nationalism, and the pan-Arab unity. When we say nationalist movement, it is something to do with the movements in social and political actions for obtaining and maintaining yung national identity nila and for being an Arabian. So, pag sinabi nating Arab nation, these are kind of movements of all Arab countries. Then, Arab nationalism promotes that being an Arab people, the last movement is the pan-Arab unity. This style of movements is modern idea that the separate of Arab countries must be unified or kailangan nila mag-unite to form a single state under one political system. Rise of Arab nationalism. In 705 BCE, Turks and Arabs are good alliance, sovereignty over the lands of Arabia. The relation between Turks and Arabs go back centuries. The Muslim Arabs began to conquer Turks region starting 705 BCE and win Turks' heart by their good conduct. So dito pa lang, nung 705, meron na talagang good relation tong si Turks and si Arabs. Then nung time ng sinakop nitong Chinese, nagkaroon ng Chinese Battle of Talos, etong si Turks and si Arab nagtulungan para matalo nila yung Chinese battle. Then, dun pa lang nagkaroon na sila ng good alliance, na-develop yung connections nila pareho. Then, etong si Turkestan, inadapt na nila yung mismo yung Islam religion ng Arabs. Due to their advanced war skill, Turks are more high position in the army. So dahil sa tulong ng mga Arabs na ito, mas lumakas yung panig ng mga Turks sa pakikipaglaban. In 16th century naman, the Ottoman Empire had experienced formal sovereignty over the land of the Arabia. Di ba nga, dun sa Turkey nationalism, yung mga Ottoman Empire, nasakop nila yung western country. Isa na dito si Saudi Arabian. So, dito, sa pagka-conquer nila ng land nila dito, naging formal naman siya, hindi naman siya naging dahas. Di ba nga, kasi meron na silang connection sa isa't isa. In 1914, during World War I, the loyalty of Turkey could no longer be taken for granted for two reasons. Una, the growth of nascent Arab nationalism. Then second one is the upsetting factor of completion in 1908 of the Hejaz Railway. The loyalty of Turkey could no longer be taken for granted. So, inabuso tong si Turkey ng mga Arabs kasi dahil nga good alliance sila, then nung itong lumaki na yung nascent Arab nationalism, so may tendency na lumaki, mas lumawak pa, and na-develop talaga yung Arab nationalism nito. And dahil na rin sa impluensya ng mga Western ideas noong 19th century. Pero, may ibang Arabs na they are looked the national movements of Slavic. Pagka sinabi natin mga Slavic, ito yung mga grupo ng mga Russia or yung mga country na sa Europe na kung saan mostly sa kanila is Christian religion or Christian people sila. And the other territories na sinakop ng Ottoman Empire. And dahil doon, nakamit nila yung independence ng bawat country na yon. And dahil na nga lumaki yung population ng Arab nationalism, mas lalo pa silang nag-improve in terms sa education, sa civil servant nila, and sa military army movements nila. And isa na sa mga Arab country is si Damascus and si Baghdad. So these are the secret society na binuo para mas lumawak or mas dumami pa yung Arab population before the outbreak of the World War I. The second reason is the upsetting factors of completion in 1908 of the Hejaz Railway. This Hejaz Railway, nagpro-provide siya ng direct link between the Medina and Damascus. Sila yung nagpapacilitate para magkaroon sila ng access sa Arabian territory. Then, itong Ottoman authorities na to, ine-emphasize nila yung benefits nila to the Muslims wherein undertaken siya ng religion obligation of Hajj. Pag sinabi kasi nating Hajj, ito yung mga annual pilgrimage to the Mecca. We all know naman yung Mecca is the one of the sacred place of religion of mga Islam. Saudi Arabia keeps Islamic tradition. So, while Turkey broke with many Islamic traditions, another new country held strictly to Islamic law. So, during this time, mas binigyang focus talaga nito na si Aziz yung traditions talaga ng Islam wherein meron silang strict na ginawa for the Islamic law na kung saan this Islamic law is kailangan sundin ng mga Saudi Arabia for the sake of their traditions. So, ito palang Islamic tradition ng Arabia is loyalty sila sa Saudi Arabian government kasi nagbase sila sa custom, religions, and also the family ties. So, kagaya din siya ni Kemal and Reza Shah ng ibang nationalism ng Turkey and the Iran kasi si Ibn Saud nag-brought niya or dinala niya yung modern technology sa bansa nila like telephones, radios, yung mga yon. Then, kaso lang, yung salitang modernization sa kanila is hirap kasi limited lang yung pwede nilang gawin kasi nga meron lang silang limited religious ideas na ayun lang yung ina-accept nila. So, in 1902, Abdul Al-Aziz Ibn Saud. He was an Arab political leader who founded the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And pinalitan niya yung pangalan ng Saudi Arabia into the New Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And also, he carried the Arab Islamic tradition. Then last, yung oil drives development. Dahil ang nationalism is nag-emerge na dito sa iba't ibang part ng Southwest Asia. So, yung region economic nila is nagde-develop na din. So, like we all know naman, basta pag Middle East kasi, they rich in the petroleum products and sila yung nagiging producer ng langis around the world. And kahit dati pa, during in 1920s and 1930s, yung European and American companies, na-discover nila yung enormous oil deposit dito sa Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. So, dahil nalaman nila, ang Middle East nga is may nakatambak or naka-inback na oil dito sa country na to. And dahil dyan, nagkaroon ng interes yung iba't ibang countries, lalo na yung mga Anglo-Persian oil company and itong mga British company to. Then, doon nila inumpisahan na nag-develop sa bansang Iran. And dahil according to sa geologists, ang land daw ng Persian Gulf ay merong 2/3 na may supply ng oil. So this is important resources of the Middle East kasi mas lumawak, and dahil sa economic changes nito, yung oil talaga is nagbe-brought ng huge profit in the Western nation or in the Western countries. So, dito na nagtatapos yung discussion ko about kay Saudi Arabia nationalism. So, natapos na nga natin i-discuss yung tatlong nationalism dito sa Southwest Asia, si Turkey nationalism, si Iranian nationalism, and last, si Saudi Arabia nationalism. Sana may natutunan kayo sa discussions ko. So, disclaimer lang muna. Correct me if I'm wrong kung may nasabi man akong mali or may hindi kayo naintindihan sa diniscuss ko. So, tumatanggap po ako ng suggestions and comments sa inyo. So, sana may natutunan kayo, and see you my next vlog, mga kabingko. So, don't forget to like and share my YouTube